Welcome to Conversations About Marketing. This is Devorah Lansky, and today we have the privilege of meeting with Jason Matthews, who will be speaking to us on how authors can benefit by publishing their eBooks on multiple platforms. Let me tell you a little bit about Jason. Jason Matthews was born in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and he lives in Truckee, California with his wife and daughters. He's been a snow maker, a house painting contractor, and is now a full-time indie author. The act of self-publishing was a major turning point in Jason's life. While learning the business of eBooks, he explored inexpensive ways to produce and market both digital and print versions of his novels. This led to working with other writers, empowering them with the same skills to become published indie authors. His guides include how to make, market, and sell ebooks all for free, how to make your own free website and your free blog too, get on Google front page, and his novels include The Little Universe and Jim's Life. Jason, I would like to welcome you and thank you for being with us here today.
It's a real honor to be here, Deborah. Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about this subject, and I love even more networking with other experts in the field such as yourself.
Well, we're thrilled to have you here today because digital publishing is an exciting yet mysterious world. And I know that you are quite accomplished in that area, and again, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to share your expertise with us. So I was wondering if I could ask you some questions.
Ask away. Ask as much as you want, and I'll tell you what I know.
Thank you. So, Jason, why do you feel it's important for authors to publish their books digitally?
Well, because digital publishing is really where we're at, not only in the here and now, but is the future of publishing. Ebooks are growing exponentially, and not just ebooks, but the devices that people are reading on are growing exponentially. Print sales are still happening, and that's good. Everyone's reading, but print sales are rather flat. While if you look at graphs, whether it's from Amazon or from Smashwords or from any of the industry leaders that are really keeping an eye on ebook sales, the graphs are literally, the rise is going off the charts with ebook sales. One of the reasons for this is that ebook readers are actually far more active than print readers. And I think a part of the reason is because people can read ebooks on so many different devices, including their cell phones. I know it sounds hard for some people to believe that people actually read books on cell phones, but I actually have several friends that do it regularly. One of my friends reads on his cell phone in his bed before he goes to bed. Another one reads on his cell phone, taking the subway to work in New York City. Ebooks are so convenient because you could have your book on your Kindle. Maybe you keep your Kindle at home or your tablet if you have an iPad or a Zoom or some other tablet. But you could also have it on your phone or on your computer if it's just convenient to maybe get a few minutes in at work on your lunch break or something. The other nice thing about ebooks is you can have a gigantic virtual library on one device, whether it's a cell phone or a Kindle or a computer. You can literally have thousands and thousands of books, plus you can even read library books. And there's so many other books that are available for free or for a very small price. Amazon Kindle and most other retailers usually offer samples up to 10%, sometimes as much as 30% of a book for free that you can read on your device before you decide to buy it. You can't do that with a print copy. You're never going to be able to take the book home, or if you go to a bookstore and start reading the first 25%, I'm sure that the people at Barnes & Noble would probably kick you out the door. The other thing with eBooks is some people have kind of resisted them, and that's understandable. The technology moves so quickly that it's hard for us all to keep up with technology, and I think a lot of established readers have resisted the ebook trend for a long time. And some people maybe have even hoped that it was a fad, but it's really not a fad. It's here to stay. They're convenient. I read ebooks all the time now. It's primarily what I read. It's true for my wife too. We have a Kindle, an Amazon Kindle, and we also have tablets. I find them really convenient for many types of reading. You know, if we go to the gym and maybe we get on the stationary bike or the elliptical machine, it's just so much easier than holding a book, just having that electronic device there. And you can, instead of, having to figure out a way to keep the pages secure, you can just push a button to get to the next page. They're terrific if you're traveling, if you're going to get on an airplane and go on vacation. Who wants to bring 3 or 4 books in their luggage when they can just bring one little device? Plus, maybe they decide they want to pick up a book while they're on vacation, and instead of needing to go to the local public library or to a bookstore, they can just download one. So ebooks, every author needs to get their books into ebooks, available as ebooks, whether the author is established traditionally or whether it's a new author. It's the here and now, and it's also the future.
What's exciting as well, people don't have to own a Kindle or own a tablet to access Kindle books or Nook books, because Kindle and the Nook are available on cell phones, on computers, and on the tablets, where readers can download the app for free and read them from a variety of different platforms, which is really exciting and makes that digital book accessible to more readers.
That's correct. And the first app to really branch out with this was Amazon's Kindle for PC. Kindle for PC is totally free, as are all these apps, and it enables people to use Kindle books or download Kindle books on any device that supports the app, which I don't know of any device that doesn't support the app. And for this reason, actually, Amazon is one of the few retailers that people who own a myriad of devices will still use. For example, Barnes & Noble, they have Nook tablets. But there are probably some Barnes & Noble tablet owners that also have Kindle for PC as an app on their device, and occasionally maybe there's a book that's not available at Barnes & Noble but is available at Kindle. And this is probably happening a lot more now than it used to. In December, Amazon introduced a platform called KDP Select. And KDP Select is an exclusive author Amazon deal where for a 90-day period, authors agree to only make their books available to Amazon. And during that 90-day period, the author gets to choose 5 days where they make their book available for free. And what happens is their book experiences a tremendous volume of downloads because people like to load up on free books whenever possible. They don't always read them right away, but they tend to download them and save them on their device. So a Barnes & Noble tablet owner might have Kindle for PC just so that they can load up on some free KDP Select books now and then. Yeah, it's just a nice program to have. Any one of these retailers who offers the programs for whether you want to read a book on your computer or on a different device, it's a nice thing to have.
Well, let's talk about different publishing options. In addition to Amazon, what are the top publishing options authors should consider and why?
Okay. Well, it's a great question, and I'm glad that you phrased it that way because I want anyone who's thinking about electronic publishing needs to recognize that Amazon is the number one option. They are the largest bookseller in the world, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So definitely do get on Amazon. And if you want to experiment with KDP Select, that's fine. I actually don't do it myself because I like having these other options. I like having my eBooks available everywhere possible. And so what I recommend to authors who want to branch out beyond just Amazon are really, there's about 4 or 5 options that just make the most sense and for me have the most sales. One of them is Smashwords. Smashwords doesn't necessarily sell the most books for me, but they do a couple of very valuable services that no other distributor does. Smashwords has a bookstore, and they do direct book sales just like any of the other retailers, but they also do something very unique. They convert your document, and most people work with Microsoft Word, and Microsoft Word is the preferred document that Smashwords wants you to upload your book in that file format. So Smashwords converts your Word document into many other formats, such as EPUB, which is read by Barnes & Noble's Nook and Apple's iPad and most tablets and cell phones. The EPUB has kind of taken over PDF as the industry standard for a file format. Smashwords also converts into Mobi format, which is what the Amazon Kindle reads. But it also does it to a whole slew of other file formats, such as PDF and RTF, and even plain text, which can be read by any device. I can't remember what BlackBerry reads on. I think it's like PDP. There's literally a dozen of these different files. Smashwords converts your document to all these different files, and then they also will distribute your ebook to be on sale at all these other retailers, including Barnes & Noble, Apple's iBook store, as well as Sony and Kobo, which is a Canadian company, and Diesel. They're working with Amazon. They haven't ironed that out yet. But Smashwords is just a fantastic place to upload to. I also recommend directly uploading to Barnes & Noble. They haven't had this available for that long, but I want to say just over a year ago they introduced a direct publishing method called Pubit, P-U-B-I-T. And for indie authors like myself, we can upload documents directly to Barnes & Noble through Pubit, and the process is very similar to working with KDP Amazon. If you're a Mac user, you can directly upload to Apple. They actually have a bunch of hoops that you sort of have to jump through, and there's even, as we speak, there's a period of time where you have to get approved. I'm not a big fan of this process. I like places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, where you can just instantly do it. They don't ask what kind of computer you own. But for Mac users, they might want to directly upload to Apple. I also am a big fan of selling ebooks directly from your own websites. PDF files especially are still highly downloaded directly from people's websites. These are systems that can be set up to run on autopilot, just like selling books at retailers where I don't have to deal with anything. I set my PDF files to be sold directly from my own websites, and it runs on autopilot, which is a really nice extra source of sales and income. And then also, besides setting up ebooks with all these different methods, I recommend having some print versions available. And one of the easiest and least expensive ways to do it these days is with print-on-demand companies like CreateSpace, Lightning Source, and Lulu. CreateSpace is Amazon's print-on-demand company. One of the reasons I recommend it so highly is because it's owned by Amazon, and so all of the connections with the paper version and the ebook version are really seamlessly integrated on Amazon. Lightning Source is also a fantastic company that many authors love, very professional product and good distribution outlets. And Lulu is right up there too. A couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, Lulu might have been the best of these options in the industry. It started out as a do-it-yourself print-on-demand company, and they've also embraced the ebook revolution, and so they'll help you make your document available as both print versions and ebooks. I don't recommend Lulu as highly now as CreateSpace or Lightning Source, but it's still a fine option.
Let's talk a little bit about formatting. So now that we know where we can publish our ebooks and our print books too, let's talk about formatting tips for ebooks. If an author formats a book for Kindle, is the book ready to upload to Barnes & Noble, or is additional formatting required at that point?
Well, this is a good question, and there's actually some different programs to use for formatting that assist authors. There's certain templates and different programs, but really what I find the easiest to do is to just format my Microsoft Word document and make it available for Amazon Kindle, also for Barnes & Noble, and for Smashwords. Your question is a great one because there are some very subtle differences to what looks best on Amazon Kindle versus Barnes & Noble's Nook. For instance, Amazon Kindle, and what I found out, Amazon Kindle likes the older doc, Word doc, not the newer version, which is a docx file, but like anywhere between the 2003 to 2007 Microsoft Word document is what Kindle prefers. We all know when we're reading a paper book that when we come to a new chapter, it should begin on a new page. And the way to accomplish that in your Microsoft Word document is to use a manual page break. If you use a manual page break, the next words or chapter title heading are going to come up on the top of the next page, which corresponds to the top of the next screen if you were reading on a Kindle, for example. And so having a manual page break in the beginning front matter, from your title page to maybe your copyright information page, maybe you have a dedication page, and then maybe you have a table of contents and or a prologue before your first chapter. It's nice to have a manual page break that sets all of those screens onto new screens. The difference with Barnes & Noble, for some reason right now their software doesn't recognize manual page breaks. And so I changed those to be section breaks for the Barnes & Noble Nook. I don't know why they don't recognize it. It's kind of just the way it is. And so I change all my manual page breaks to section breaks before I upload with Puppet and to Barnes & Noble's Nook. The other odd thing that I've noticed on Barnes & Noble's Nook is if you have images, whether it's your about the author photo, perhaps, that comes somewhere within your book, or even if your book has images that are supported throughout, that complement your story. The images come out smaller on the Nook screen than they do on the Kindle screen, even though the devices are the same size. And I still haven't gotten an answer as to exactly why this is, but what I found is that I like to boost the size of my images that I put onto the Nook. And so, for example, when I use images on Kindle, I'll always keep them at a maximum height of 3.5 to 4 inches, because if you upload images that are too big, the screen won't be able to hold it, and it might either come up as a partial image, just a section of your picture, or it might even come up blank, not at all. When I upload the same image to Barnes & Noble's Nook, I'll increase the size up to 50%. Now, some of this is experiment, and one thing that's really nice is for both of these companies, when you upload to either KDP Amazon or to Barnes & Noble's Puppet, they have a preview feature where you can scroll through page by page what your document is going to look like on their device. They also have other options. If you want a preview emailed to you, you can do that. I usually just do it there in person. And then you'll get a feeling of what things are going to look like, and you can play around with your document, make changes, and instantly upload it again, and then see the preview and see if your changes are to your liking.
That's hugely helpful, because when you see a book that's not well formatted, it's difficult to read. It makes people angry. They feel that they've gotten an inferior product. On the other hand, if a book is well formatted, they feel that they've gotten a great deal, a special treat, something to dive into. You know how it is when you have a new book and the book looks and feels great. Well, when it's digital and it has attractive formatting, it's just as delicious. And so I appreciate, sharing those tips. It is important to have that and to be able to see right away what the book will look like is hugely helpful, because you can quickly make corrections and then upload it again so it's ready for the consumer.
That's correct. And the other thing is perhaps everything else about the book is wonderful to the consumer. They enjoyed reading it. They got everything they were hoping and more, but the formatting disturbed them a little bit, and that's probably going to affect a lot of the reviews. If maybe it was a 5-star read, but they felt it was only a 2-star formatting job, they're probably going to give somewhere between a 3 and a 4-star review instead of a 5-star review, just for some simple formatting changes.
That makes sense. Now, let's talk about the benefits of publishing both on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble Nook. So if an author is published to Amazon for Amazon Kindle, what benefits are there to also publishing to Barnes & Noble's Nook?
Well, this is a great question, and I've actually been really frustrated with Barnes & Noble recently, because they sell such a few amounts of books compared to Amazon for me that I've almost considered dumping them. However, I would never do that, because, for one, all sales help. If I can sell, even if I can only sell a few books at Barnes & Noble each month, and maybe I'm selling hundreds of books or thousands of books at Amazon, I'm still going to continue doing my sales at Barnes & Noble, because who knows who that person might be who reads my book on their Nook. Maybe one of my novels gets read by someone in the Hollywood industry who's a great producer or director or an actress, or someone who has access to those people, and they say, wow, this book, The Little Universe, we need to make a movie out of this book. Well, there's always a possibility that I'm going to connect with that person through Barnes & Noble. Or maybe it's not, a movie deal, but maybe they read a how-to book that I have, and they say, oh, well, he'd be perfect for this program that we're running on SEO, search engine optimization, or something like that. And so all sales help. You never know where the next contact that really helps you make new connections and have new opportunities. You never know where that person's going to come from. So that's number one. The other thing is there are some authors who end up selling more on Nook. It's a small minority right now than the people who sell more on Amazon, but there are some authors who sell more at Barnes & Noble. And I think what happens with these people is somehow the Barnes & Noble Nook crowd gets a buzz about the book. Maybe there's an influential reader in the Nook forums, because Kindle has forums and Nook has forums, and these are typically people who own these devices and are talking about what are the good reads that they've been reading lately and recommending good reads. And so if your book becomes the buzz at Barnes & Noble's Nook forum or within some kind of Nook circle of readers, then who knows? You might start selling many more books at Barnes & Noble than at Kindle. Another thing that's interesting that's recently happened, literally just this month of May of 2012, is Microsoft is pledging $600 million to help Barnes & Noble with their publishing industry. And my feeling is that is primarily going to be aimed at their ebook industry. And, Microsoft pledging $600 million, it almost sounds like an international bailout for one country bailing out another country. And I was really surprised when I saw this. I didn't know that Microsoft had that much of an interest in Barnes & Noble. But I do know that Barnes & Noble's biggest competitors are Amazon and Apple. And we all know that Microsoft and Apple are competitors. But I guess that to some degree Microsoft and Amazon are competitors as well. So for whatever reason, I'm sure there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, Microsoft has decided to take Barnes & Noble under their wing. And with this $600 million pledge, I'm sure that Barnes & Noble is going to really revamp their entire Nook and ebook wing, and we'll see what happens in the near future, how these things change.
That will be a very exciting development to watch. What an exciting time to be an author, and we're going to have to keep our eye on that one. That one sounds intriguing. Now let's go back to what you were saying about making more sales on Amazon. What are your thoughts regarding why authors end up selling many, many more books on Amazon than on Barnes & Noble for the most part?
And it's not just for Barnes & Noble, but they sell more on Amazon than anywhere across the board. Apple, Smashwords, Sony, Kobo. Sony has actually been in the business longer than Amazon. Sony introduced the Reader in 2007, and Amazon introduced the Nook. Amazon introduced the Kindle in November of 2007, so a full year after Sony. But something about Amazon, they just pioneered it. They weren't the very first, but they went into it with a better strategy, a better marketing plan, a better overall concept of what we're going to do with this. And before 2007, ebooks have actually existed for a few decades now, but they never really took off because they basically were just a PDF file that someone read on their computer. But Amazon said, we're going to make this device the Kindle. It's just going to be for reading ebooks. And in November of 2007, they really said, we're going to make this work. And it's hard to believe. It's just 4.5 years. We're just 4.5 years basically from the day that Amazon introduced the Kindle. And since that time, ebook sales have just slowly and then more and more gradually until now just exponentially taken off in sales. And it's because Amazon has done such a good job of making readers find books that they want to read. They have wonderful search engines. They've got things like tags and categories. They recommend people who bought this book also bought, or people who enjoyed this book also enjoyed. They do everything they can to upsell, to keep selling more and more books. And they're also extremely pro-indie. Amazon gives me 70% of every sale. When I sell a book on Amazon, they only take 30% cut, and they do all the work once the book's in place. You know, I don't have to contact the buyer or anything. I mean, that's just a great deal. They also have really challenged the establishment, and Amazon has gotten into lawsuits with the big six publishers, publishers like HarperCollins and Simon & Schuster and Penguin, all those big publishers. Amazon has really taken them on, including Apple, and now even they've got the Department of Justice looking into price fixing, because a lot of these big publishers were getting involved with price fixing schemes where they wanted the cost of ebooks to remain high, even though there's no reason for ebook prices to remain high because they're not as expensive to produce and distribute as paper books. So Amazon has really taken on the heavy hitters and done pretty well. They've had setbacks as well, but Amazon has been a real champion for the indie author, and in my opinion, for the reader also. I just think Amazon is always looking out for the reader, the author, and its own interests in ways that make sense, whereas I think some of the other companies perhaps are just more looking out for their own bottom line.
And Jason, when you say indie author, can you define that for our listeners?
Yes, excuse me, I should have been more clear. Indie authors is a pretty common term these days, and it really refers to independent and or self-published authors. Now, a lot of indie authors are new authors who are deciding to self-publish, to go ahead and get their books out there without finding an agent or a professional publishing house. Some indie authors are established authors who used to have publishing contracts but have decided to become independent, usually so that they have more control over their product and more of the profit of the sale, basically all the profit of the sale after retailers like Amazon take the cut. So indie authors are very much like indie film producers or indie musicians. They're basically independent artists who want more control of the product and more profit on any sales.
Thank you. And I want to ask you just a real quick question about Kobo. I have been doing some reading on Kobo. I've heard that people publish to Kobo. I know that Smashwords, one of the companies that they distribute books to, is Kobo. Yet when I was on the Kobo website, it said, we are currently not publishing eBooks. So it felt like there was like a little bit of a mixed message there. Can you enlighten us?
Okay. Well, I think what that means is that they're not accepting eBooks directly from independent authors. Kobo is a Canadian company. They're basically, they've been around a long time. I want to say they've been in business almost as long as Amazon is as far as selling ebooks. But Kobo is out of Canada. They make a dedicated reader, a Kobo reader. Smashwords will distribute books to Kobo. In fact, I get monthly sales from Kobo, but my sales are sales that were created by Amazon distributing my books to Kobo. I have actually contacted Kobo in the past, and I didn't get very good customer support when I had a question, and I actually kind of let it go. So I'm not sure if their customer support is up to par with Amazon's, which is really fantastic. But Kobo is basically a Canadian outfit. They do sell ebooks. I don't know of a way to directly upload with them as an independent author at the time, but that all could change anytime. In fact, it might even be possible now. I just haven't heard about it, but I don't think so.
Thank you. Well, let's talk about Smashwords. Can you share with us, first of all, a little bit about Smashwords, what a publishing aggregator is, and I know that you're a big fan of Smashwords. So what can you share with us about Smashwords?
Well, thank you. I am a really big fan of Smashwords. And as I said earlier, they do two things that are really quite unique in the industry. They convert your document into every kind of possible file that every kind of reader, e-reader, will read. They convert into EPUB, MOBI, PDF, RTF, LRF, plain text, and more. And then they also distribute to companies that most authors basically can't get into otherwise. Companies like Apple, like Kobo, like Sony. They even distribute to Baker & Taylor, which is one of the world's largest book distributors, and Baker & Taylor also does eBooks. They're not just for paper, but Baker & Taylor will get your book into libraries. And you can also get into Barnes & Noble through Smashwords. So Smashwords not only converts your document, but it also distributes it. And it also sells documents directly, or ebooks, directly from its website. Smashwords is founded by a man named Mark Coker, and that's C-O-K-E-R, Mark Coker. And I really think of Mark Coker and Smashwords as an indie's best friend. They have always been interested in promoting and selling indie authors and helping market them. Mark Coker has a free style guide, and the style guide is really the Bible of formatting, of how to format an ebook. It goes through how to, and they want Word documents, so it tells you how to format your Word document from beginning to end, and it gives all kinds of examples and pretty much every scenario that you could ask for. I always like to slightly alter my document for Kindle and Nook uploads. But those changes that I make to it from the Smashwords Style Guide recommendations are really quite minor. Smashwords has a blog where they keep us authors up to date on all the industry things that are happening behind the scenes. And Mark Coker is a really accessible CEO. I've had many emails answered within 24 hours from Mark Coker himself about if I've ever had any issues with my Smashwords upload. Now that Smashwords is taking off, you're more and more likely to get his staff members. But over the past couple of years, I've had many direct email communications with Mark Coker, and just really appreciate the effort that they put into making this an easy experience and hopefully a profitable one for all of us.
It is exciting. There's a real community feeling over there, and Mark speaks at a lot of events, so he's really spreading the word about Smashwords. And I love that you can take and upload a document, and they call it the meat grinder, so that the document is then formatted and ready for many different platforms. Now, I've heard you talk about being able to do that on Smashwords, yet you personally recommend uploading your book directly to Amazon and directly to Barnes & Noble, which means that you would uncheck those options on Smashwords. So if Smashwords distributes to Amazon and Barnes & Noble, how would an author benefit from instead personally uploading their book to those sites?
Great question. Even though Amazon is listed on the Smashwords website as one of the retailers that they distribute to, they've been working on that for a long time, and it's actually still not in effect, and I'm not sure it ever will be. So currently, the only way to get on Amazon is to upload directly through KDP Amazon. The other reason, now, Smashwords does distribute to Barnes & Noble. However, You can also upload directly to Barnes & Noble Puppet. And I actually do both right now. And I don't tell Smashwords or Barnes & Noble that I'm doing both. I just sort of do it. It's almost like having two versions of a book. Maybe one was, edited a little bit, but you can still find both versions for sale. Each site, whether it's Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and each device have their little nuances. Like I explained before, some of the differences with my Kindle upload as to my Nook upload for, manual page breaks versus section breaks. Each site and each device has its little nuance. So it's really best to upload to as many places as you can directly, and then check the preview of how your document is going to look to just try and make those little perfections. It's really not much extra work, but if it adds value to the reader, then it's really likely going to come out in more referrals and better reviews and ultimately more sales. Perfecting the product is always smart. Another little thing, and this is not a big deal, Smashwords does take a 5% cut when they sell your book through one of the retailers that they sent it to. So, for example, if I make a sale on Amazon or on Apple's iBooks store, I get 70% of the sale after Smashwords has taken its 5% cut. So basically, the math is a little tricky. Apple takes a 30% cut, Smashwords takes a 5% cut, and I basically end up taking a 65% cut. It's not a huge deal. I don't mind giving Smashwords 5%, but ultimately that could add up to a fair amount of money if there's enough sales.
So you have different options. Now, I heard you earlier talk about PDF ebooks. So another way to distribute ebooks is for an author to create a PDF version of their Word document and sell it directly from their website. Can you talk about that to us for a little bit?
Yeah, PDF ebooks. PDF used to be the standard of ebooks, and it's really still probably all-time the most read document file format on computers and even on some devices. Most devices have ways of reading a PDF or converting it to their own file. It's just smart additional sales. If someone can buy a book directly from your website, they're often likely to do that. And especially now that we live in a global internet world, where maybe someone from, a South American country or someone in the Middle East who doesn't necessarily have access to Amazon books but wants to read your book, maybe that's the best way for them to get it is directly from your website. So you always want to think globally, and you always want to think more options for sales. I also find that my nonfiction sells quite a bit more as PDF files. My how-to books often have links and software that people can go to download from certain websites, and so PDF files can be really handy for some people who maybe they have the option to buy it at Barnes & Noble or Amazon, but if they could just buy the PDF directly from my website, that's what they prefer. I also like selling PDFs from my websites because I make more money. I don't have to give Amazon or Barnes & Noble that 30% cut. I basically give, it turns out to be around a 5% cut to PayPal. But then I make between 90 to 95% of each sale. So that's really nice too. Plus they can also be set to run on autopilot. So I really don't have to do anything. I do like to communicate with the purchaser, to just send them an email letting them know that I'm appreciative, thanking them for the purchase, and that if anything went wrong with the download process, to let me know, and I'll make sure that they get their book.
Jason, can you talk to us a little bit about the purchasing process? And I know that you recommend a couple of different options, but for the purposes of this recording, to keep it simple, let's just talk about PayPal. So let's say an author has a Word document. They've converted it to PDF. If they have Word 2010, they can just click Save As and save it as a PDF. If they have Word 2003, there's a plug-in that allows them to do it. And there's also different software programs that will allow them to create a PDF. So once they have the PDF, how do they then go and sell the book on the website? And for, simplicity's sake, let's just talk about PayPal as the payment processor.
Okay, great question. Once they've created the PDF, then there's two things they need to do. They need to upload the PDF file onto their website server so that it basically is its own web page that can be accessed. And with the websites that I use, they just ask me to directly upload the file, and then if you click on that file, you're actually going to a URL, which is the PDF. And then on the PayPal side, what they want to do is create a PayPal button. And when you create the PayPal button, you get asked to fill out a lot of the description, what this is for, how much it is, things like that. But then also there's some customized features that say, for example, take the customer to this URL after purchase. And so what I like to do to make my sales run on autopilot is put in the URL of my PDF, exactly what URL my PDF document from my website is, so that basically people automatically go to that download page where the PDF is stored, and then customers basically get it themselves. It's sort of like they pay for something, and then a door opens to the room where they can go grab it. They still need to grab it, but for the most part, don't have too much of a problem doing that, especially if I explain it well on the Buy Now button page where it says, after purchase, PayPal will direct you to the download page where your PDF files and other files, I sell EPUB and Mobi also, will be available for you to download.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I know our listeners will be jumping on that because, again, we get to keep all of the profit, and it's another way to promote our books. Mm-hmm. Well, there's an alternative, or I wouldn't necessarily call it alternative. There's a very exciting way to share. There are many very exciting ways to share digital content. But what I'm thinking of is an online site, which is an online classroom, where authors can take their books, perhaps put them to PowerPoint slides and create an audio, and a video, much like we're doing with this presentation today. And then they can create their own course that they charge for. And the name of that site is Udemy, which is udemy.com. And I know you have a very exciting course on that site. So how can authors benefit from offering a multimedia course like this, and how easy or difficult is it to upload a course to Udemy?
Okay. Well, I think it's a really intelligent option, and especially for nonfiction. I have several how-to guides, including this book, How to Make, Market, and Sell eBooks All for Free. Video training is a very powerful medium because it's so much easier to incorporate more elements of learning, audio, video, as you said, PowerPoint, documents like PDF. When someone reads my book, their brain has to do a lot of the processing for them. But if I put together a good video program, that can really help them understand it. And plus, I can delve into more situations and show somebody exactly what I'm doing. And so it ends up being a little bit longer of a program, but much more comprehensive. And because some people just prefer to learn by watching video, it really does make sense to upload to Udemy. There are other other venues like Udemy. One contacted me recently called Convey, and another one is called TradeBit. But I have found that their platform isn't anywhere near as comprehensive or as easy to use or as effective as Udemy. So I really recommend Udemy above all of these. It is a medium degree of challenge, I'd say. It's a lot harder than just formatting an ebook and uploading an ebook. If you're comfortable, you don't have to use PowerPoints. You don't have to necessarily use documents. But if you're comfortable making video, using screencasting software like Camtasia or Camstudio, which is a free version of Camtasia. Those really help. It took me a little while to get familiar with some of the new technology, but once I got used to it, Udemy is actually a very easy system to work with, and they make it great to enable another portal for your sales.
It's exciting, the possibilities, and I've noticed just in the past month it's becoming a social network in its own right. So I really recommend people go there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jason, I know that you have a lot of knowledge and experience in this realm, so rather than coming up with a question, I'm going to toss the ball in your court and ask what else you'd like to share with our community of authors, VAs, coaches, and speakers regarding publishing eBooks.
Well, it is a complex industry. It's really taken off since 2007. And if we think about that, that's less than 5 years when all of these new things have kind of occurred. So it's difficult to keep up with. If you're an author and it feels like a lot to take in all at once, you're not alone. And I feel that way all the time myself, even though I'm always involved with it. The nice thing about this community is it's a great community. Indie community people like to network with others, and they're helpful. And so that's one of my big things that I recommend is doing everything you can to network with this wonderful community of people, because 2 heads are better than 1, 4 heads are better than 2. It really does multiply like that. The more you participate and share your own experiences, the more you hear of other experiences, and things start to click and get on the right track, and it helps everyone. It's really a wonderful community to participate with. Did you also want me to talk about building internet platform presence, stuff like that?
You just read my mind. I was going to ask you about that.
Okay. Well, the first thing I did want to point out was the most important thing is networking and communicating with other indies. Now, other great ways to do to utilize things online, your internet platform and presence, which is basically everything online about you that's going to help people connect with you and find your books and find your message. Number one is probably social media, using tools like Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, even YouTube videos. Social media is such a wonderful way to connect with people all over the world, and even people who are interested specifically in your subject matter. I also love blogging and or having a website. It's really important to have some kind of web presence where people can go to your site to learn all about you and have links to your books or to your programs or to anything that you want them to have links to. I also really recommend forums. There are forums for just about every subject you could possibly imagine on the Internet. If you love skydiving, there's got to be skydiving forums out there. Or if you teach knitting or a musical instrument, there are forums for playing the guitar. Get and participate with forums that are related to your subjects and meet and greet like-minded people, and they'll help with the networking. I also recommend writing articles or doing interviews. Articles are great for nonfiction writers who have something to teach, especially, or just to share that people are going to find interesting. Interviews are great for fiction writers. There's so many websites now coming out trying to put the word out on new indie authors that need to be discovered. It's really easy to get interviews set up. The other thing is to manage time. All of these things take time, unfortunately, and I know that a lot of people don't have enough time in the day to get all these things done, or maybe they've got, a 9-to-5 job also, and they've got a family and all kinds of other things that they do. So do try and manage your time. Spend a little bit of time doing some of all of these things, or spending the most time on the ones that you find you're getting the most value out of. So really my advice is just to build your internet platform and presence, to network with the community, and to just keep moving forward towards your goals.
This has been invaluable, Jason. I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us here today. And I have one final question for now, and that is, with all the information that you've shared today, if you were going to have people take action on one thing in the next 24 hours to put into action what you've taught us, what would you have them do?
Well, I think that one thing, because this can be such a complex and overwhelming project to some degree, that one thing that everyone can do, and it doesn't matter how far along the process you are, whether you haven't even started writing your first chapter or you have got a complete book but you're not sure what to do with it, is to get, I don't know if you want to call it a checklist or an outline or a marketing plan, whichever term works best for you. Think about all of these things that you sort of want to work on or get done, okay? And some of it's going to have to do with where your book is at, whether you're writing your book, whether you're editing your book or doing cover design, or if you're formatting it for eBooks or for print versions. Other elements of this checklist or outline is going to be working on your social media presence that I just talked about, your internet presence with Facebook, Google, Twitter, LinkedIn, your blog, your website, identifying the forums that you want to participate in, figuring out time management in terms of which of these elements might be your strengths or maybe not so much your strengths, which of these elements are easy for you to participate in daily and which sort of take more time. Come up with your own checklist, your outline, your marketing plan that works for you, and just make sure that you're working on it. Okay, it's like a diet or an exercise program. Don't expect results in the first week or even in the first month, but think of it as an ongoing thing. Just like as a diet or a nutritional program or exercise program takes care of your body over time, this checklist, this outline, this marketing plan is going to take care of your writing career over time, and just stay active with it.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you again for being with us here today.
Oh, thank you, Devorah. It's been my pleasure, and I'm always available to talk with you and with indie authors if I can participate in this experience.
Well, thank you, everyone, for listening in. I know you've taken a lot of notes. If you'd like to connect with Jason further, check out his course over at Udemy. It's called How to Make, Market, and Sell eBooks All for Free. Or you can check him out on his blog, where there's lots of great information. He has a wonderful author community that you can plug into, and that is at ebooksuccessforfree.wordpress.com, and that's the number 4. ebooksuccessforfree.wordpress.com. Thank you again, Jason. You're the best.
Oh, thank you, Deborah. I feel the same way.